You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous. Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
Born wild. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sophia. And today I have with me Jackie, who is not only my client, but like a really good friend. And I'm really excited to get to chat with you. I had reached out to you, I think maybe, was it before? I think before you gave birth, because I wanted to talk about your business, because you have such an amazing business that everyone needs to know about. So I do want to hear about that. And then I also want to hear about your two birth journeys. And I know the stories, but I want everyone else to know about the stories. So why don't you just like jump in, say a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I appreciate it. I'm Jackie. I live in Sebastopol, and I'd love to do land recognition. This wasn't always Sebastopol. This was I'm on native, I'm sure it's Pomo land, and I'm from New York originally, from Long Island, but I've been in California for 20 years now. It just seems crazy to say. And I grew up around kids. I grew up and around a lot of kids. My mom is the oldest of 8. I've always been obsessed with babies. I've always sat next to my aunties when they were nursing. I'm sure I was like way too close and hovering. But I could change diapers from a very young age. And always thought that I wanted to have a million kids. Like 6 was what I had in my head. That sounded fantastic to me. So, fast forward, I, in my early 20s, I learned about birth. I learned about midwives first, home birth midwives. And I thought that is what I wanted to do with my life. But
Remember how you learned about that? Like, was it?
Yeah. So I was living in LA and I was like, I need to do something towards like that vision that I have for myself. I want to just take one step. And I found the California School of Herbal Studies in Forestville. And I was like, this place sounds amazing. So I went there and I did a weekend workshop, and there was a midwife in my class. And she, when we were introducing ourselves, she had like a scarf wrapped around her neck, and I'll never forget it. And she like couldn't quite turn her head to look at everybody. And she's like, I'm really sorry, I can't turn to look at everybody. We were practicing vaginal exams on each other yesterday in midwifery school, and I'm clearly processing a lot of emotion around that.
Oh,
and I was like, you can do vaginal exams on each other? Like, holy shit. Like, so that just like blew my mind, coming from like Long Island. Like, no, you only, lay on crunchy paper and put your feet in stirrups. Like, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one thing led to another. I just got talking to her and she told me about doulas and what they do. So yeah, I was a doula for 10 years before I had my own daughter.
Like a birth doula?
Birth doula first, and then soon after, I was a midwife's assistant for a few years, and then postpartum doula, and fell in love with postpartum and never let it go.
Yeah. And so you did that for 10 years in LA?
5 of those years was in LA, and then 5 up here. Yeah.
What brought you up here?
I wanted to go to that school full time, the herbal school. And then my partner followed me, who's my husband now. And yeah. And then I just started really feeling like I wanted a family and felt like it was time to get started on that. That journey kind of took, turns and But once we decided we wanted to conceive, it happened on the first try. It was actually like, whoa, okay. I thought we were going to be able to like practice a little bit and give it some time, but it happened.
Do you remember when we first met? Because I know neither of us have children.
I remember we were at a doula meeting at some restaurant type thing in downtown Sebastopol, but I don't remember
Yes, this seems
anyone else that was there except for you. And like what the context was. I think it was an organization that no longer exists, like North Bay Doulas.
Yeah, just like a meetup and to stay connected in community. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I got pregnant easily the first time around, and I thought I knew everything that I wanted. You know, I had been in the birth world, I'd been to hundreds of births, I've been to home births, and I was like, I know what I want. And I thought I knew like the midwives in the community that I wanted, and I thought I knew that they would fight for me. I remember asking, "You'll fight for me, right?" Like, because that's what I went in thinking I needed, is someone who will fight for me.
Like anticipating you would end up in the hospital potentially, or like what would they be fighting for?
My ability to stay home. Yeah. Or if I did have to go to the hospital, that they would fight for me to claim a natural birth. You know, that it wouldn't just be like, oh, your water broke, you need to have a C-section, or, you know, something that I would feel isn't justified.
Yeah, that you really drilled in and pictured them like, I need you to be my advocates. And
yeah, for sure. And as these things go, you know, I'm having one of my routine home, so the intention was a home birth with these two midwives, and you know, having one of my routine prenatal care visits, and they're palpating my belly, and they're like, I think you might want to go for an ultrasound. I'm not convinced that the baby's head down. And as soon as she said that, it clicked, and I was like, oh, she's right. And then confirmed that the baby was breech. And then the next thing I remember is just bawling on their couch in their office, because I knew, and they were confirming, that they wouldn't support me in having a vaginal breech birth, that I would now become part of the hospital system. And it was something I didn't think to ask.
Yeah, and wouldn't specifically because their license won't allow it.
I guess so.
Yeah. How far along were you in your pregnancy?
I don't remember, but
you were
30. Yeah, getting close to. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just remember that being really devastating to me. And then quickly moving into, okay, then I have to turn this baby in order for me to have a shot at a home birth. And I did all the home things you can possibly think of, including I have these rad pictures of like my husband helping me get inverted, with him like using these like shoulder straps to help lift my like, it was like this whole contraption.
And so like, did you know going into this pregnancy the like laws around it? Did you?
I didn't.
You didn't know. Oh,
I didn't. No, I didn't know explicitly, but I knew that most home birth midwives do not support breech births.
And you were just kind of like, that's not like really going to happen to me.
Wasn't on my radar. Wasn't on my radar at all.
Yeah.
Nope. I didn't think to ask, hey, if I have a baby, will you support me through breech birth?
Yeah.
Didn't even think of it. And then my doula, my birth doula at the time, she was like, well, there might be a midwife who might be able to support you. But like, I couldn't at that point, that hurdle of like, somebody new, and can I trust them? And I can't afford to hire another midwife. I've already paid these people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cash out of pocket. So like, I didn't pursue that all that much. So I scheduled a manual version with a doctor at Sutter has a very good reputation for having successful manual versions. And I went and had that done with her, and we were successful in having a manual version. It felt very strange, and but it was an a mental, from a professional standpoint, it was cool to see how first the doctor was training somebody and how to do that, and they couldn't get the baby to budge. And then she's like, kind of just like, let me get in there, and she got in there and like butter, just
smooth.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. So that was the first. It actually wasn't the first. I was having clues all throughout the pregnancy, and I actually have a written letter to my midwives saved on my computer before any of that even happened, about the things I was having issues with, but I never sent it to them. I would have these conversations with my husband. He'd be like, you need to bring this up to them. And I'm just like, but I just think that they're going to do a really great job. I don't think it's important. I don't think I need to express any of this.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar experience. You can just kind of be like, it's not that big of a deal. And there's like all those layers of, I'm already X amount financially invested, and I've built up this time in this relationship, and the idea of like having to start over. Yeah.
And I have a real thing. I don't know if it's my Catholic upbringing, but like I have this real thing about like not wanting to be the client who's the pain in the ass. Like I don't want to be that client, So especially because they're colleagues too, right? Like, so I'm also
you're in the birth world professionally. Yeah.
So anyway, I remember going to bed and having my hands on my belly and saying, baby, I don't know how this is going to go. It's not going to go how I want it to. Just relinquishing control and just saying, this isn't going to go how I want it to. I don't know if it's going to go how you want it to, but look, we're going to do this together. And then however much time passed, I rolled over in bed and thought I peed myself. And then I was like wobbling to the bathroom to my husband. I'm like, I think my water broke. So my water broke. And again, having come from being in the birth world, that I already was like, okay, I need to get these contractions going again, or else I'm going to end up in the hospital if I don't have this baby soon. Like, so in my head, I'm like, I got to get something going. And I just remember being in such a high adrenaline state after that, and me and my husband barely talking to each other and just cleaning the house. We just like went to work cleaning the house.
Must be sterile.
Or something, like not knowing what to do with our nervous energy, I guess. Or like there's going to be people in the home that's tidy. I don't know. I don't know.
And this was the middle of the night?
This was like beginning of the night, 10 or 11. Anyway, went to bed, nothing happened. Next day, nothing's really happening. So then I start putting myself on an herbal protocol.
Had you had conversations with your midwives about like their policy for rupture and how long you quote unquote could be ruptured before like they would intervene? Or
nothing clear. I remember having a conversation at that point, at some point during the day, and they're like, what are you worried about? And I'm like, I'm worried you're going to send me to the hospital because my water's broke. And they're like, well, you don't have to worry about that. So I was like, so at some point I felt like I took a deep breath and I was like, okay, they're not worried about that. Then I don't have to worry about it. But it wasn't, the adrenaline state continued for, days really. And just keeping.
So that story you had, was it from like past experiences as being a birth doula?
Yeah.
Like that you were just assuming that would be their experience and
exactly.
Yeah, their roles.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So nothing happened all day, went to bed, and then started having some contractions in the middle of the night.
This is like 24 hours later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a good 24 hours later. So at some point in the middle of the night, called my birth doula, and she came over. I remember the back labor was just insane. I just remember insane back labor. And then, but I was dealing, I was hanging. Roy was my rock, and I'd hang on to him, and we did stairs, and eventually the pool, and was walking my long driveway at the time. And at some point, I remember sitting in the birth tub and just feeling like, okay, something should be shifting now. And it wasn't. And I was like, so I'm just going to try putting, like, maybe I'm going to try pushing because I want something to happen.
You're in the
So
birth tub, or your midwife's there? Is it just you and your doula and your husband?
At some point, my midwives were there now. And I wasn't checked or anything for dilation. And yeah, so anyway, I just kind of want to speed it up. But I was starting to get that feeling of wanting something to be shifting. I was pushing, but didn't really, my body wasn't like asking me to push. I was just kind of pushing to kind of like try it on for size. I think something was going on with my midwives, and maybe they were just trying to be helpful or in getting something together. I asked, I said, check me, but don't tell me what it is, what the dilation is. And then at some point, I don't know why, there is this thing of like, okay, let's have you get on the bed during a contraction. And then they had their fingers in my vagina. I don't know if they were trying to like manually dilate me during a contraction. She's like, this is what I know to do if you want help. And the pain of that was so intense. Like, one, trying to do a contraction on my back in bed was like, fuck no. And then like two, with them in my vagina and my cervix trying to do something. I don't know what they were trying to do, but.
Do you think you could have potentially been like 9 centimeters with a lip, and they were trying to push the lip back over the baby's head while you pushed, kind of thing? That's probably the most common thing I hear of what you're describing, like the reason for it.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. I didn't ever really get too much of an explanation.
You would ask like not to be told your dilation, and so that's why they weren't explaining it to you, because you were like,
possibly,
just do your thing, but don't tell me numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that for a little bit, and then there was the suggestion to do that again with another round, and I just at that point I just had given up, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. I remember telling my husband, I'm like, trauma happens at home too. I don't want this to become traumatic. I want to go to the hospital. I want to get an epidural. I want to sleep for a little bit and push my baby out. Like, the back labor was so intense for me.
What time roughly, like, where?
So this was like the next late morning, midday.
Okay.
So yeah, I have like really no concept of,
a
light concept of how much time it was, but I don't really know. Anyway, we rode to the hospital. I remember very vividly being in the back seat, it being awful, the worst ride in creation. I remember at some point just having this vision of wanting them to drop me at a corner and shoot me. I want to be dead. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I remember feeling like I was causing such a ruckus walking into the hospital because I was screaming during every contraction, and like, they're like, okay, let's get you into a room now.
Yeah.
Can you hold on? Let me get her into a room. Like, the civilized people can wait, but this one needs to get into a room.
Yeah, we have to hide her quickly.
Yes, definitely. So This went on for a while. I don't know. I got an epidural. It worked marvelously for an hour and then it stopped working. They couldn't get the anesthesiologist for whatever reason. I'm like pleading with them. I'm like, and they're like, we called another one. I was like, are they at home? Like, I have to wait for them to get here. Like, I don't know. I was so mad. So then the epidural wore off, and now they're starting to suggest Pitocin, and then I don't know what to do because I know that like my energy is declining. Everyone in the room's fucking exhausted. My team is like all asleep, or like trying to be there for me. And I get it. Like it's so long at that point.
When you got there, had they checked you and told you where you were at or anything like that?
I don't think I wanted to be checked. I don't think I was checked. Yeah.
You're like, just get the epidural.
I just wanted the epidural so I can go to sleep. So then I just felt conflicted. Like, do I do the Pitocin and like get this baby the fuck out of me so I don't go to C-section? And like, and weighing my energy level, like, can I do this for another day? Like, I don't know. Like, or do I like say no to the Pitocin and just keep doing what I'm doing, which is like hurting like crazy. At some point while the epidural was still kind of working, then I felt my body bearing down. And so now my body was like taking over and I was like growling. And then they kind of got me up on the bar thing, the squatting bar. And, we did a bunch of different things, but that back labor, it was still coming through like that hip, everything out of my hip. I said yes to the Pitocin. There was nothing they can do about the epidural. And I was self-checking. That's what was going on. I was self-checking. I can feel a little bit of the baby's head. And after, I have no idea how much time, I checked the baby. I checked myself again, and I didn't feel like I was making any progress. So I'm like, fuck, like, let's get a vacuum and let's be done with this. So we talked about the idea of using the vacuum. And I just remember like seeing the dial, how they have a little dial, like if you're pulling too hard on the vacuum, like I just remember like seeing it like encroaching red and the pain because I didn't have an epidural and like just like leaving my body at that point. And then next thing I know, like my baby was on my chest and she didn't leave my chest for days after that. I wouldn't let anybody touch her. They didn't really bother us either because I didn't really need it. Like at that point, like I had everything I needed.
Yeah. You were done.
Yeah. And then it was a real blur. And then I was like, oh yeah, we can go home. I think we ended up staying the night to sleep, but then the morning they were like chasing after us down the hallway with the paperwork because I'm like, I'm going. I'm done staying here. Yeah. Bye. So I had a horrible tear from the vacuum. Really, really horrible. I bled for 14 weeks. I felt like there was a sandbag, on my pelvic floor. It just felt horrible. Yeah, that recovery was very long and very tiresome. But I walked away from that birth being like, okay, things didn't go how I wanted, but they were my choice the entire time. My choice of midwives, my choice to be home, my choice when I wanted to go to the hospital, my choice for the vacuum, so I'm like, I wasn't bullied into anything. I wasn't coerced. I wasn't, I was like, okay, it didn't go how I wanted, but it didn't feel like, I don't want to say it didn't feel out of control. So that was my initial like feeling from that birth.
Yeah.
And then
we can't control how things go, but we can control what we choose and
right. Yeah.
the choices. Yeah.
I want to say a year later, I found Free Birth Society and podcast, and I just started binge listening to.
Can I back you up? What about
Yeah.
breastfeeding? Your breastfeeding journey?
Easy.
Easy.
She has like the longest tongue ever. And like I said, I just put her on my chest and she never left.
Yeah.
There was a situation after, like a few days after birth, where like I got this like through my medical insurance, like somebody came and a lactation consultant came to the home, and she felt like the baby looked really jaundiced. And I was like, yeah, but she had a vacuum birth. Of course she looks jaundiced. And she convinced me that I needed to go to the hospital to get her pricked. And I was so pissed. So pissed. I'm like, why did I listen to that? Like schlepping all the way to North Santa Rosa. Like I knew my baby was fine. Like,
and but once it's kind of like planted, the seeds planted, you feel obligated to do something.
Yeah. And then I said to my midwives, I'm like, really? Do you think it's necessary, like, for me to go? And they're like, yeah, well, if she said you should go. Yeah. Breastfeeding was fine.
Yeah.
Until I went back to work around, we moved house, and then I went back to work around 5 months, and my supply just plummeted at that point, and some postpartum rage.
Which not
just a little sprinkle of it.
Not many people know depression. They know the depression piece really well. Everyone like if you just say postpartum, they assume you're talking about depression. It's just like synonymous. But not as many people know about postpartum rage or postpartum anxieties.
Yeah, and I can't even say that I knew about rage at that point, because I wasn't feeling depressed and I wasn't feeling anxious. But what I kept saying to the people around me was that I felt like the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. Like all of a sudden I just feel this like heat come up, and I'd be like,
yeah.
And it was very short lived, but like I need to remove myself from this situation right now before I just start like thrashing and yelling. And
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And just so the listeners know, if anyone hears snorting, it's not me. I have my puppy who just woke up next to me. He's really feisty. So if you hear snorting, it's probably Chili Dog. The rage.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were bringing up Free Birth Society.
So a year in, I learned about the Free Birth Society podcast. I started listening to Emily Saldea and some of her thoughts around, midwives and how home birth midwives, and how like the context around like how it's still the same mentality that we're walking into that relationship with. It's just a little bit better because it's at home, but it's still within these contexts of institutionalized medicine. And light bulbs were going off.
Hierarchy too,
Yeah. And it really helped me identify where I just had kept on giving my power away over and over. It just really helped me contextualize so much of that birth, and the lack of ownership right from the beginning. So that was really, 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 really helpful to have that, and have that be named for me. And it would have taken years and years and years of therapy to kind of be able to unpack all that. It really helped to have.
And if you don't know there's another way, like sometimes people wouldn't even get there, on their own, because you just assume that, like, in terms of like what you were talking about, like having birth trauma, like people can have birth trauma at home too, in terms of like where it would most likely happen. You think, well, home birth with midwives is like the best choice, like what else could be better?
Right. Yeah. And I've seen beautiful home births, and I've seen them go awry too. And I've seen them be traumatic, and I've seen them be, lack of consent on, I've seen it all,
Yeah.
But yeah, so many light bulbs so many layers started getting peeled once I listened to that.
And did you leave your birth like knowing you were gonna still have 6 children, or like where were you with that? Like, did you want more? Like, were you, yeah.
My heart wanted more, but I was scared. My body, it took me forever for my pelvic floor to feel normal, quote unquote normal and strong again. Like I could carry another baby, quite honestly.
Do you have recommendations for women who are healing from really intense tears, and like if there were things you did that you felt really made a difference for you?
I think that the biggest thing on my healing journey was birth fit. Made the biggest difference because we were working with how I was using my body on a daily basis. And definitely the internal work is helpful. And there was some that just added more trauma, and there were some practitioners that brought amazing healing for me. But in terms of like the everyday, how am I using my body? When am I loading my pelvic floor unknowingly? And how the diastasis of the abdomen works in conjunction with the pelvic floor, that was, I think, really shifted my body in a big way. And how I was feeling.
So you find Free Birth Society, and then like at what point are you doing more work to heal physically, emotionally? When does your conception journey start?
So it was more of a mental choice. Well, one, I did start feeling like a soul was calling my name again. And I was like, God, my daughter's 3, almost 4. Like, if we're gonna do this, like, how old is she gonna be? Like, I wanted them to be siblings who grew up together. Like, if she was 3 at the time. So, and then it took just a minute, really, for my husband to get on board. And he was like, all right, yeah, this makes sense. And he felt like he was hearing a soul calling him as well. But it took us a while to conceive, over a year. And that was a journey in and of itself, the trying to get pregnant and not getting pregnant. And wow, that's a whole nother thing.
Especially with the first, when you just got pregnant.
Yeah. And then it eventually it worked.
But I'm sure it wasn't like just so simple. I mean, we did a lot of walks together, and there was like, you know, like how far into the conception journey did you get in terms of like, were you thinking maybe something's up with me, maybe something's up with him? Were you doing testing, or were you just
that's a good question,
being patient and waiting for the baby to come when they're ready? Or like where how far did you get on that journey?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So we did have Roy tested first, because he was like, all right, this isn't easy. Let's just do this, get this out of the way. So we did that. Clearly wasn't his issue, from the medical standpoint. So it's like, okay, now we know we need to focus the resources on me. But before even all of that, I called a baby clairvoyant, someone who speaks to souls who are coming into this life. And I spoke to them before Mila came into this world. And I said, hey, do you see more souls coming in for me? I feel like I have one talking to me, but I just wanted to see what you're saying, because I'm trying to get pregnant, but I'm not getting pregnant. But I feel like a soul's talking to us, what's really going on. So she was very validating in terms of, yes, seeing more than one soul there. And that they kept on saying that the highway is broken, but Angel Gabriel's working on it.
Interesting.
That was I'm like, so tell me more about this highway. And then you always like, you have all these other questions. Like, what do you mean like what highway? Like, so, and I had a lot of angel energy around me during that time. So that reflection of Angel Gabriel's working on it sat well with me, sat true for me.
So did you spend this year feeling like it's just not the right timing, or did you spend the year feeling like something's wrong with me, I need to fix it? Like within this year, and when you finally got pregnant, was there a thing where you're like, oh, I got pregnant because the timing was right, or did you get pregnant because you were doing XYZ and like your body was healthier than it was, or like what was the thing?
I think it's all of it
All of
mixed in. Some, every time I'd get a negative test, it would be absolutely devastating, like grieving a loss.
Yeah.
And then I'd go through the gamut of like, what's wrong? Yeah, I'd start tracking my cycle, and then I'd stop tracking my cycle because that would be driving me crazy. I'd be taking herbs. Am I taking everything? Am I tracking my cycle right? Am I, I don't know what else. I didn't really go too far down the allopathic path. It's just not a scene that I'm comfortable in, and probably didn't go. I was working nights full time. So I was feeling like I was getting a very clear message of my body needs rest. I've been doing nights for 15 years. I can't do this anymore. And as a few months after I stopped doing nights, I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was only 2 months after.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So clearly my body needed that reset.
Maybe your baby thought that your body thought that you already had a baby because you were with so many babies.
Right.
You're like, we're up all night. We've got a newborn. We might not be nursing, but we definitely have a newborn.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Right. They've got company.
Okay. So then you were pregnant. Yeah. Were you like in total disbelief, or were you
Yes.
Like, I know.
Yes. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was. And I was actually mourning because a friend had told me they had just gotten pregnant. Mm-hmm. And I was having a day of just like, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not pregnant? Oh, wait a minute. I haven't had my period in a while. Actually, I can't remember the last time I bled. So like literally the day after she had told me, I'm like, holy shit. All right, I'm pregnant too. I couldn't believe it.
And so where before you were like probably testing and all that, was there a certain point where you're just like, forget about it? Because you weren't like, okay, I should have bled here. I'm going to test like this.
Yeah, I stopped. Kind of stopped all that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is why I, didn't really even know I was until I was in the self-pity mode. And then actually, oh, wait a minute. When did I last bleed? I can't even remember,
That's funny.
Yeah. It's really funny.
All right. So you're pregnant. And then what?
I'm pregnant. And this time around, I just really wanted to take my time to one, just bask in being pregnant because I had worked so hard for it, and just be in that feeling of gratitude that like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity. And on the other side of that felt like utter shit, so just kind of being, in the first trimester feeling like crap and also so grateful. Mm-hmm. And really wanting to take my time to make sure I'm not rushing into any decisions about who I want supporting me and how I want to do this. My husband is super supportive, but when I would bring up the idea of a free birth, it made him really nervous, and he had to kind of wrap his head around it. And it took a little while for him to kind of get on board. And
I think a lot of partners, their nervousness comes from feeling like, well, if nobody else is there, then I'm responsible. Then I have to like be the midwife or be the medical provider. Was that kind of his fears? Like, well, then I'm the one that like has to be responsible.
Maybe that had something
like feeling like that pressure
to do with it. That's possible. I don't remember at this point what his exact concerns were, but
yeah,
I'm sure there was a flavor of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember knowing that like I'm gonna need a sounding board through this pregnancy and labor, and that it's can't be my husband holding all that for me. And I knew I didn't want to hire the midwives I had used before. And I thought maybe I wasn't sure about the idea of having a wild pregnancy. And then I knew I wanted to have a free birth. But again, like I also knew I needed a sounding board, like a safe sounding board to kind of just a place to put all my thoughts and questions and concerns and celebrations and just things along the way. And I knew that you were very much involved yourself with free birth and supporting people through free births and educating yourself with them. And you felt like you can potentially be a safe person for me to be that for me during this. But I wasn't, again, I just wasn't sure how you would show up in certain situations, and would I end up derailing myself again? I was really concerned about that. And then when my friend booked you, then I was like, oh shit, like I might miss my opportunity. Like if I do want to book her, like
I remember you being like, can I put a deposit down? I don't know what I want from you yet.
yeah. Like I really needed to sort it out. And yet at the same time felt like I didn't want to lose my opportunity, that if I did want you, I'd have that. So it was kind of like you or no one. And I also felt through our conversations together, I felt like you were okay with that if it was no one, and if I said I might not call you, you were okay with that. And if I did call you, you were okay with that. And like
I remember you being like, well, maybe because you had two houses on the same property, maybe I'll be in one and you'll be in the other, and we'll walkie talkies, and I might call you like, hey, can you come help me out of the tub because I need to pee? And I was like, and then I'd be like, Jackie, you can just pee in the tub, you don't need me.
right.
Yeah, like my goal was to avoid being in the room as well, like because I knew what you wanted. I knew you wanted to, have a birth as unassisted as possible. And
yeah. I there was something, I don't remember the specifics of it at this point, but I remember something coming up in pregnancy. Oh, I do know what it was. It was on one of our prenatal visits together. One of your assistants came, and she was lovely and great, but I felt the dynamic shift. And in the room, I was like, this isn't congruent with, I can't even name it. I just feel it. Right. And I remember like feeling really nervous about bringing that up to you. I know the role of an assistant in a midwife relationship. I know that carrying a birth on your own is a lot of work, like physically, mentally, cleaning up. Like there's a lot involved. I've been there. So I felt guilty and responsible and unsure about asking you to not have an assistant. And at the same time, I knew that that's the messaging I was getting in my body about.
Yeah, well, in the last pregnancy, you dismissed those things. You wrote them out and then didn't say them,
Yeah. And I remember emailing you and then just crying when I got your response back about like something along the effects of that you guys picked up on that too. And she doesn't need to come. It'll just be you. And I just so grateful for how you handled it. You heard me, you validated it. It wasn't a question, an argument. It wasn't uncomfortable. And I was just like, that validated for me at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm with the right person. She is emotionally mature enough to deal with her own shit. She doesn't need me to be in any certain way. If she needs to ask something of me, she could, like you didn't need me to be any certain way in order for us to be able to have this type of relationship. And that's what I needed. And I appreciated that. my pregnancy was forever. So I had to go through that journey of like the never ending pregnancy. And I really wanted a baby on Christmas and I didn't get that. And your reassurance was phenomenal and helped me through the ups and downs of, okay, I'm going to take these herbs to try and get something going. And you being like, is that something you really want to do? And it's like, no, I don't, but okay. You know, and
like
just, yeah.
saying, again, that like sounding board of like, okay, when I say it out loud and you give me your response back, I realize that's not actually what I want.
What I want.
It's
Yeah.
this like attempt at grasping control when you feel out of control, and
Yeah.
instead just surrendering to it.
Yeah, for sure. So much surrendering. So I'd wake up so pissed, like I'm pregnant again. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I remember you were saying you kept getting like, you're like, I hate leaving the house because everyone has their comments about,
Oh,
like,
that was
oh,
huge.
do you have twins, or, you know, all those kinds of things. And like, you're like, I feel like I'm trapped in my home because if I go out, I'm like tortured verbally.
Yeah, that was really, really, really big for me, is that everyone had a comment. I couldn't leave the house because no matter where I went, and it doesn't matter if people are saying quote unquote good things or bad things about my body. It's just the fact that they're looking and commenting on my body is uncomfortable and it was not okay with me. And that was really, really hard.
Stop. Please stop commenting.
Yeah, just stop. You have no idea how far along I am in my pregnancy. You have no idea how many babies I have in my belly. You have no idea how I carry babies. You have no idea how a lot of the population carries babies.
Yeah.
Commenting, you know? Thank you for reminding me that. I forgot. There was a few nights in a row where I'd go to bed contracting and I wasn't sure, and then it would peter out in the night. That's part of why I'd be so pissed when I woke up. It'd peter out at some point, but then me and my sister dragged me on a hike that was a lot harder than I would have done myself. And I'd been contracting all late afternoon, and I went to bed and I texted you. I remember saying, I don't know, but I'm going to take a bath and go to bed. I don't know if this is it or not. And I went to bed and shortly thereafter couldn't stay in bed, but I put on my headphones and listened to my cheesy spiritual music that I like. And it would just pull me into a zone that was really meditative and cool. And I loved it. I felt really blissed out and had some different rhythms that my body fell into. And, you know, every time my contractions would come and my daughter was sleeping and the fireplace was on, and it was really lovely. I really enjoyed it. And at some point it was getting harder to hang in there during the contractions. And I remember asking Roy to ask you, because you weren't there, you know, when should we set up the tub? Which I guess he or you took as we should set up the tub. So you came over and you guys set up the tub, which was very distracting, and it was really hard. And I was kind of kept on going back and forth of, do I just kick them out and tell them to stop, or do I want the tub?
Yeah. And I remember I was in the other house for a little while, and Roy was trying to set up the tub, but you really wanted him to be with you, but you also wanted the tub up. And so it was like, okay, how about I just come in and set up the tub? So
yeah.
With you know?
Yeah.
But it's like
really distracting.
It's a production to get.
It's a production. Yeah. It probably would have been better just to set up the tub. You know, you can always like redo it in your head, but like, you know, you should just set that up in the other house, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, I got in. It was mediocrely helpful. And then I remember starting to push, and my body was pushing. And I remember like a lot of the concerns coming up again, like at Mila's birth, about it's not working. And I remember whining to you quite a bit about, what if it's not working? What if it's not time to push yet? Or what if it's not doing anything? You know, because I just didn't feel like there was a lot of progress happening. And I don't know if I was checking myself or not. I can't remember.
I can't remember if you're checking yourself. I know you asked me like 3 or 4 times to check you.
Oh.
Had a new reason each time why I should. And you talked really thorough in your pregnancy that like you did not want me to check you, you know, like that was not something, you know, that you wanted. And I think at one point you told me that you thought you were pushing your bladder out. And I would just reassure you that you were not pushing your bladder out, and you seemed really content with the answer. Every time I had like
some BS.
Like reassurance, you were like, okay. It wasn't like you were like, no, seriously. Because I remember having this internal thing with me where I'm like, well, if she does really want me to check her, I don't want to like be here and be like withholding, you know, something that she really wants. But I also recognize that like I didn't really think you wanted that. You know, you were just like, what's going on? Where am I at? Like, you know,
floundering.
And so in my head, I'm like, okay, if she's happy with my answer, then we'll just let it be. And if she really wants it, she'll push back, you know, but every time you were like, okay. And then you would labor some more.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember and then at some point it kind of like, again, like you get to these stages in labor where the energy just shifts. I remember the energy shifting again. And I knew that you were going to say something like this if I brought it up, but I did anyway, which was like, you know, and then your suggestion was, well, we can sit on the squatting, not the squatting bar, the birth stool or the toilet, you know. And I knew what that means, you know, in my doula head. I'm like, that means you're going to push really effectively.
Well, what did
and it's going to hurt like hell, but it's going to work.
What was it that you brought up that made me suggest that?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Maybe just saying that you needed something else and you felt like it wasn't working or something.
Yeah. So I opted for the toilet. Thinking that the squat would be less intense.
I have a question because I have a memory of your water breaking when you were kneeling in front of the bed. And there being a bunch of meconium, and it was right before you were going to get in the tub. You got in the tub a couple different times because I remember at that point you asked me to listen to the baby because we weren't really listening. But at that, maybe it was because of the meconium that you wanted me to. And you're like, I think we should listen once before I get in the tub. And we did, and it sounded great. And so you were like, okay, that's good enough. You kind of like shooed me off you and got in the tub.
No, I remember my water breaking during contraction, and I was like, oh, that probably went all over Sophia. But I don't,
because I think I was behind you, maybe squeezing your hips or something.
I don't remember why, you know, or what we were doing there. Regardless, I remember that the pushing on the toilet did exactly what I thought it would do. It made things more intense and made it so there was no question in my mind that my pushing was being effective. I could feel the baby moving through my pelvis with every push, and it felt so intense. And I just remember begging the baby to be gentle and leaving the opportunity for it to be, just trying to invite in the opportunity for it to be gentle and not so painful, and, you know, and just asking for that over and over again. And I didn't want the baby to be born on the toilet. There was something about that room. I just was cold, and I just I wanted to get back on the bed. And it continued even when I went on the bed. That pushing was so intense, and I remember it coming through my pelvis, and then once I got the head out, I birthed the baby's head, I just got really scared. I'm like, this baby is going to break me in two. Like and I was afraid to do anything. And the contractions, as I think is a normal variation of labor, they just really slowed down at that point, or maybe just time changes in that moment. But like, I remember the perfect medicine of birth just gave me a real time to, like, it wasn't until I wrapped my head around there's only one way through this and kind of surrendered to it that okay, then I got a contraction. But I remember there being this like really long pause of me just being in a really hard place of feeling like this baby's going to break me in two, like literally. What
Yeah,
it felt like.
so intense.
And then I got another wave and felt kind of the baby coming out, and didn't have the wherewithal to put my hands down or anything, but I knew they were gonna come onto the bed. And I knew I was holding on to Roy, so he couldn't move. Yeah, it just took a minute for me to kind of be like, okay, I'm alive. I'm intact, and my baby is. And the first thought was, holy shit, this baby's huge. They were massive. Come to learn they're just shy of 11 pounds.
Yeah. And I know I was filming at that point. Oh, and fun fact for all you partners listening, make sure your partner protects the whole bed and not just what you assume is the side that your partner's going to give birth on. Because I think only like your side of the bed was protected. And of course,
well, yeah. And when I was trying to get off the toilet, I probably wasn't speaking correctly, / whatever else was going on. But like, I was trying to say, grab the protector to bring it over, and it just wasn't getting communicated, but whatever, we made a huge mess.
And yeah, when the baby's head came out, there were a couple contractions, or at least one where you were pushing, and all I could see was head and just like the biggest, cutest cheeks I'd ever seen resting against your butt cheeks. Just like, I was like, oh, this baby's got some cheeks. And then when you were pushing, you were just spraying blood everywhere. There was so much blood coming out of you. And like the baby wasn't even born yet. And I remember being like, huh, that's interesting. And so I like set the phone down and came over, and I looked down because she was like, baby was looking up, and she just had this like little fists. You could see like her knuckles like right under her chin. I was like, oh, so that was probably also why it was like so intense for you. But yeah, I remember it being like really unusual, and I was like, what is happening? Like, why is there so much blood? And then yeah, she came. Yeah. Yeah.
She had a lot of blood on her.
Yeah, she had a lot of blood. And I remember you kind of like dumped a fair amount of blood, like right after. It didn't like continue, it stopped. But I remember looking at you and be like, how do you feel? Because that was a lot of blood. Like, it was a lot of blood. And you were like, I feel like shit, but I'm okay. I was like, okay.
Yeah. There's such a vivid, visceral memory in my body of like the emptiness when she finally came out, and it was like, oh my God,
all you had left you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was real. That was a very intense feeling, that initial emptiness feeling kind of took the wind out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember about waiting on your placenta? Because that kind of affected that too. You would try to get upright for your placenta, but you were like short of breath, I think, just because of like how much volume in general you had lost. You like couldn't get upright because you were like, oh my God, I feel like I can't breathe when I sit upright.
Yeah, now that you say that, I kind of remember it. Yeah. I remember the placenta being a drag, like just taking a while. Like, why can't we just be done?
Yeah, one more thing to deal with.
Yeah. And just really wanting to take a shower. And I remember your suggestion of maybe waiting a little bit.
Well, I think especially because like even just getting on your knees on the bed, you were like having trouble breathing, you felt like short of breath. And I was like trying to picture you standing in the shower. I was like, I can't picture that going well right now.
Yeah, probably wise, but wanted to curl up.
Oh my God, I'm getting full on attacked by this puppy right now. Chill out.
Yeah, so processing that birth was it took me a minute. And I remember like 24 hours later saying to my husband, like, Roy, I don't feel proud of myself. Like, I pushed out an 11-pound baby at home by myself, in a way. And I don't feel proud of myself. It doesn't feel like I thought it was gonna feel, I think is what it was. Like, I think I imagined it was going to be one extreme or the other. It was either going to be a ship birth again, or it was going to be like borderline orgasmic, and it wasn't. It was very real. It was a very real birth. It had all of the moments that birth encompasses in it. And it just took time for me to claim it and be proud of myself and be like, wow, cool. And I made really different choices for us and for myself, and I'm really happy with those choices. And just proud of in awe of what women can accomplish when they have the right support around them. Yeah.
Were you able to pinpoint why you think you felt that way?
Why it took a while?
Or just like, like, was there a thing you felt like you weren't proud of? Or you were just expecting to feel different? Or
one, I think there was a little bit. Is there ever like a little bit of trauma? I don't know. Like, I think there was a level of trauma of that, the exit, the official, when she left my body. I think I was still really kind of integrating that moment of feeling like a Mack truck was going through my body, and like, wow, okay. So I think that needed time to integrate. So I think maybe that. And like I said, because I thought it would be one extreme or the other, and it wasn't the highly blissed out state. So it just didn't immediately translate to, fuck yeah, this is great, I did it, celebrate. It didn't.
You felt kind of like wrecked.
I felt wrecked. I felt very much in love, and I don't know if this is my hormonal blueprint or the way I process things, but with neither of my babies did I just like burst out like crying after them. It seems like maybe that's just me. It takes a moment to kind of,
it's more like a sense
integrate,
a relief to be like done.
Yeah. And it's not any sort of interruption of bonding or and it's nothing in that.
Women are like that, more so than like if you just see like the pictures, and you like make up a story of how she felt, but I think it's, I've heard it compared to like running a marathon, and you cross the finish line, someone hands you your trophy, and you're like super grateful for this, like love the trophy, really proud of it, like, can I have a minute though? I just did something really hard, and I just need a minute. I still want that trophy. It's awesome.
Totally.
Did it for the trophy, but I just need a minute.
For sure.
What about anything postpartum that stands out to you?
I had like 48 hours of just feeling like really settling into the support systems that I had set up for myself, and like laid in bed and lots of nourishing soups and people checking in on me, and just really just being there with my baby, and just kind of, and then something stressful happened, and that triggered anxiety, and then that anxiety picture just snowballed really intensely, and I was in a full-blown like panic state for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it would, and I'd be crying because I couldn't keep food down, and I'm afraid my milk is going to dry up. And to, my family, thank God, was around and really just holding me up. And again, it never interrupted my bonding with Sophia. I wanted to be close to her. She would calm me down, but like it was the nervous system overload that I was in at that point was a lot. And I feel like my period just returned. My baby's 10 months, and I've gone a month now with not having any anxiety, little blips. They would over time, it started to space out. My panic attacks, they weren't really panic attacks, just I would just have like these anxiety flares, and then they became fewer and fewer and fewer, and I don't think I've had one in over a month now.
It just goes to show, though, like, you can do as much planning as you want, and like, you of all people didn't dismiss postpartum planning, I'm sure, because it's your job, and you just can never know what life is going to throw at you. And it's in those moments where it's like the postpartum planning would have been a blessing either way, and because you made plans to have so much support, it could have been probably way more isolated.
Yeah, it doesn't, the support doesn't stop you from going through what you have to go through. But it helps you get through it. And I think I don't want to overlook or shy away from the financial burden of there would be so much more that I would have done for myself, for my family, for my baby, to help me through things if it wasn't so dang expensive. And I know firsthand, it's an expensive thing to hire a postpartum doula and to see and do all of the alternative therapies that our insurances don't cover. And that's what someone like me and my body needs, is those alternative therapies that insurance just doesn't cover. So I'll be the first one to admit we have a broken system in America. And yes, I am in it and I'm trying to help it. And I'm charging those really high rates for postpartum care. And it sucks. It sucks that so many people don't have access to the postpartum care and alternative therapies that they need afterwards for it.
I heard you say, you were talking about postpartum. Gosh, I'm gonna draw a blank on exactly what you said, but just because you have the support doesn't mean you have to go through doesn't mean you won't potentially go through the hard thing. And it made me think of your birth, the idea that just because you have support doesn't mean you aren't gonna have to do the hard thing,
Yeah.
And that just because it wasn't this orgasmic, just laying in bed and basking with your baby and people, just because it wasn't that doesn't mean it also. I'm just struggling with this puppy right now. He's mountain climbing me like a goat. But yeah, just because it isn't this blissed out estatic postpartum doesn't mean that it also, needs to stay in your body as trauma, that there can be so many layers to it, and the support you surround yourself with can help you integrate it. Or
for sure.
What two very different experiences and journeys you've been on. Will you touch briefly, you kind of just mentioned it a little bit here and there throughout the story, but your business that you have, plug yourself a little bit, and for anyone listening, I'll include links in the show notes.
So I own Birth Realm Postpartum Care Company. We are a full service postpartum care company. So we offer daytime support, overnight support, postpartum doulas, family lifestyle photography after the baby's born. We offer something called sacred tending, which is an integration of all the more my mind just went blank. the cultural postpartum practices around the world. So like belly binding and postpartum yoni steaming and a lot of Ayurvedic practices weaved in there. We offer postpartum education classes, and we serve Sonoma, Marin, Napa, and the East Bay, San Francisco. So all the North Bay area.
Broad reach.
Yeah. I have the best team in the whole wide world. And we're really grateful to work with them.
Wonderful. Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories, and hope to see you off screen soon.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram. For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA.
Sophia at sophiabirth.com.
And me, Leah, at Bay Area Home Birth.
We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always,
Stay wild.